race with vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Today, tomorrow, together.
It was all to drive for in one category and done and dusted in another. And all of it added to the excitement of the 8th and final event of the ABSA off-road season, the Ford Carnival City 400 in Brakpan. In the special vehicle class, the motorite team of Evan Hutchison and Jim Bergman were racing for the national crown, 5 points behind the father and son team of Nick and Ryan Harper. And in the production car class, the Nissan Navara of Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford was steered to the national crown in the previous event, the Toyota Dealer 400 in Mpumalanga. No less than 76 entrants made their way to the gambling mecca of the East Rand just outside Brakpan, which has a reputation for always delivering a watery race, as this event has proved to be a rainmaker of note. However, the weathermen were predicting nothing of the sort this time. Four-time national champion Hannes Grobler was hoping to make it 7 wins out of 7 for the Nissan Navara team, while his navigator Francois Jordan had a big battle on his hands against Ralph Pitchford for the navigator's crown.
Yes, it's down to the wire. Unfortunately for Ralph, he was overseas with his Volkswagen commitments for 2 races. We did not take advantage of one of them when we fell out in Amatola, but the other one we took full advantage in the Popo, which we won. But then the situation is that if they win and we come second, then I win the championship by 1 point. If they come second and we come fourth, then we tie, but then I win on most wins. So it's a very interesting situation. I hope the drivers also understand it.
So Francois knew where the battle lines were drawn. For Toyota's Marc Ronier, the battle was lost twice within sight of the line and probable victory too.
Well, that's going to be on the cards, definitely. I mean, I'd really love to give Toyota the result they deserve. But unfortunately, you know, the year's been tough and it's just gone sort of pear-shaped in the last couple of races. But I'm really hoping that it's going to come to our way now and our luck's going to change.
What will your tactics be for the race?
Well, for now, I mean, obviously you can see the rain is coming up. So either way, it's going to be quite tricky. You know, we've got a lot of route around the Slimes dams, which makes it really difficult when it rains. But for me, it's really prologue's going to be attack, and then see where that places us, and then from there try and conserve and get it to the finish. It's a long day tomorrow. We've got 2 laps of 180 k's, and I think you got to pick your way, you know, carefully through this stuff.
And carefully in off-road is almost a watchword. It works most of the time too. For the sponsors Neil Woolridge, it was desperation stakes for a victory in 2007.
A Ford-sponsored event that's been good to us in the past. So almost a home event for us as well, because it's not too far from Pietermaritzburg. So yeah, we'd certainly love to win this event.
Any tactical plans for the weekend?
I don't think any tactics. I think as normal, to finish first, you must first finish. And it's normally a tough race. They put us into the rocky area and the military area, which can catch a lot of people out. There's also a lot of dongas, and last year there was a lot of mud and water. So I see they've had quite a bit of rain here. I don't think as much as last year, but there's quite a few places that can catch you out. So be careful and push hard. But you know, we're lying 4th in the championship. We'd like to finish 3rd if at all possible. So we'd certainly like to send it.
There's that word again. But in Class D, there was a fun fight of note on the go. The Raysonic squad with Kutsiela Waskachny behind the wheel were right in the thick of things.
Yeah, no, well, with everything, if you look at the points, there's about 6 guys who can mathematically still win it. So I think it's going to be a tough one. All the guys will go out there for it, and we're going to give it our full go and see what happens from there. We can only do our best, and that's all you can do, and the rest will be up to the man on top.
And on top on the points log, it was Foss who had already celebrated his championship win, but Nissan were desperate to keep it a 1-2-3, while Ford had an eye on the podium. In the special class, there was a huge amount of racing still to be done before the season was to be embalmed and buried. For the Harpers, there was a consistent year, but now it had come down to this: 1 race, 400 Ks, and all to play for.
Yeah, look, it makes it exciting. We're looking forward to this one, and that's what makes racing so great and makes the Class A, the special vehicle class, competitive. And it can take it down to the last race. That's what makes everybody want to win it, you know.
Tactics. What's in your mind this weekend?
Look, we're going to go hard. We have to go hard because, you know, it's either go hard or get second. So, and I know Evan's going to do the same.
So, but we still got to be conservative. We don't want to throw it away. So we're going to basically maintain what we've done all year, get the car home and drive as fast as we can to do that, you know.
In the 2005 and 06 National Champions Camp, the motorite lads were quietly confident. After all, they'd done it before and were prepared for all the pressure.
No, you know, I'm glad we've got the pressure. 3 races ago, we had no chance of winning the championship. We had a few problems with the cars. We need to win 2 races in a row to give ourselves a chance coming into Carnival City. And we've managed to do that. We won the last 2. So it's down to the wire, winner takes all. Yeah, so it's definitely going to make for a good race. It's ourselves and Nick Harper. Yeah, we're going to have to give it a full go.
Gloves off it would be, and in Class B it was exactly the same, except that it was a family battle.
Yeah, well, there's a point to prove, and it's going to be a wet weekend, so it's going to go fast, muddy, dangerous. So yeah, we're gonna have a hell of a dice, and we're gonna see what's the outcome. I really don't know.
No team orders.
Yeah, well, that's the story, but when you're out in the field, team orders doesn't matter anymore.
In other words, man the posts full speed ahead and the rest be damned. Just those 5 points separated the Harpers from the motorite crew, while Cox and Testege were just too far back to threaten, seeing that a win is worth 25 points. In the prologue, which is run to decide the starting positions for the race proper, it was the Grobler-Jordan pairing who got the honour of taking it away. The time trial was run over a tough and testing 40-kilometre layout, and it was slightly wet out there too, courtesy of the aforementioned rain. National champ Voss and his co Rolf Pitchford were next and went herring off rather quickly. Grenier with his faithful nav Chris Birkin strapped in next to him were thirsting for a win in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, and they were driving quickly. There's always added pressure when your sponsor flies the banner, but for Brandon Harkis and Jean Moore in the Ford Ranger, there was even more. They needed a win. In car, their communication is some of the best out there. After all, they've been racing together for a while now.
Big donga, big donga, big donga. Big donga. That's it. 200 meters, another big donga. 100 meters. Yeah. This is the warning.
And there were some big dongas out there, as Voss and Pitchford discovered. In car, there was frenetic but controlled driving and thinking.
Go for 3 kilometers, no instruction. 3 kilometers. Caution, yeah? Jimmy, give it to me. Stop.
Woolridge and Schulthammer were the defending SP class champions and were driving like an NPRAC van early on. Grenier and Birkin clocked the fastest intermediate times in a really well-controlled and aggressive drive, while Chris Visser and Jaapie Paardenhorst were fifth. Norwegian mountaineer Ivar Tollefsen and his stand-in co-driver VZ van Zyl were also impressing and would eventually clock the 6th fastest time for the prologue. For the Mickelin Excel dealer team, there was a very solid 7th place in the time trial with a time of 33 minutes and 26 seconds, just more than 2 minutes down. While Grobler and Jordan took it relatively easy and tried not to stress the Nissan Navara too much early on, they were 21st overall. The Zermatten brothers, Henry and Maurice, were also in the hunt for the national crown in Class D and were giving it horns. weren't sparing the horses nor the carriage. Their Obi Nissen was getting a hammering. Newcomers Mark Ferguson and Craig West in the special Steels Ford Ranger were cautious but quick and were ninth fastest. While the Barden Tyre Services crew of Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts were just 12 seconds behind them. The Nissen was in particularly good voice on the first morning of the Ford Carnival City 400. The big man Kutsielav Skachny and his co-driver Johan Gerber had their ups and downs in the year 2007, but were off to a very good start and taking line honours in Class D. With Bevan Berthold and the lanky Robert Houghton limping along in the second Castrol Toyota, it seemed that their challenge was over before it had even begun properly.
Just keep left, the fast part of the route. Yeah. And go up here and turn left. Yeah.
Tomorrow we race. Today we fix wheels. One of our spare wheels fell off for some reason, and then we got a punch. We only had one, so that's the end of the game. We'll have to take our time and a half penalty, start maybe 20 minutes behind tomorrow, do the best we can. Otherwise the car's running beautifully, and just a pity the wheel was left a bit loose on the back.
How did that old song go? You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. Oh well, there was some celebration in the Toyota Cup as Gronje and Birkin won the prologue in the production car class with a 28-second margin over Brandon Harkes and Jean Moore in a Ford Racing Ranger. In the special category, it was clear that the route favoured the special vehicles, and Motorrad Racing's 05 champion Hutchison hit his straps early on and kept it right there. He clocked an outstanding 28 minutes and 15 seconds to dominate proceedings. It was clear that he had brought his race-winning form to the East Rand. The Hoppers tried to keep up but were always just a tad off the pace in their Atlas Copco bat, but only to the tune of 25 seconds. Perhaps they were preserving the car early on. The second Atlas Copco bat also kept them on the straight and narrow, as the teammates Gary Berthold and Jeff Minnett were just 39 seconds behind. With the 2006 champion, multiple discipline guru Alfie Cox and his nav Henny Terstege in fourth, another 28 ticks of the clock further back. Another former champion, Shamir Varayawa, was making his Total Motorsport Porter sing-along with Siegfried Rousseau making the road calls. They were fifth quickest over the 40Ks, and it was rough and tough out there. In the Century Properties Development bat, Colin Matthews and Alan Smith proved to be the surprise package of the 07 season, and they were continuing on this trend with a fine 6th place. While Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell in the Absolute bat were just a half a minute over the half-hour mark for their timed test. The tall grass, a result of lots of rain in this part of the world, made it tough to read the road easily and resulted in some rather bumpy rides, as Omen Silwalt and Tony Kaywood discovered. And Karl-Heinz Silwalt and Paul Helberg, winners earlier in the season, were flying even higher, albeit a little skew at times. With Regent Racing's Michael Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson taking the 11th place in 32 minutes and 26 seconds, good enough for 15th overall. Brothers Johan and Etienne Besaidnout plastered on the pressure in Class B. They were 3 minutes and 16 seconds ahead of the old man, their father Bez, who with Johan de Bruyn in the cockpit was hoping to win Class B championship. Just a point separated these two crews for the runners-up spot in the championship. Talk about the alpha male syndrome. In the Class S championship race, it was all over bar the shouting, but personal pride still would not let Nick Gosler and Richard Carolyn slack off. they were going well in the Kopenhagen Hotel race go. But the prologue gave pundits a good idea who had the best form, and it seemed to be with the Motorrad lads Hutchison and Bergman, who had a 25-second gap over championship leaders the Harpers. Cox and Tersteger were also right there to keep Motorrad in the hunt.
Vehicle and asset finance.